Looking for a unique neckline for your next dress? Consider doing an elegant scalloped one. This tutorial will take you through the construction process. Please note this process works best with strapless designs where there's a lining or facing. I'll be using a scallop specific pattern, but you can try this with other patterns as well. My basic pieces are my bodice, both front and back. You can see there's no shoulder seam because it's a strapless design. And my front and back facing pieces. You may not have a facing, but we'll be using a lining instead. I'll cut out my fabric pieces following the pattern recommendations. I'll also cut out interfacing for my facing pieces. Transfer any marks. You'll notice that my facing pieces have scallop stitching lines, but you can draw your own if you don't have them using a cup to help. Don't do scallops in the armhole section. It's important I mark on the interfacing pieces since this is the side that I'll be looking at when stitching. Attach interfacing to the facing pieces. I'm using fusible, so I'll iron it to the wrong side of all my facing pieces. I'll start construction by putting my bodice pieces together. In my pattern, I have darts, so I'll sew all the darts first. If you need help with darts, see a link in the description. My bodice pieces consist of one front and two back because this dress style zips in the back. Your style might be different, but for me, I'm going to pin each back piece to the side seams of the front piece, matching any marks and notches right side to right side. I'll sew the two seams at my machine at a standard seam allowance of 5/8 of an inch. When finished, I'll press both seams open. Now I'll grab the facing pieces, and it's similar in that I have one front facing and two back facing pieces. I'll pin the two back to the front, matching the edges with the notches right side to right side. I'll stitch these seams at my machine and press them open when finished. I'll edge stitch all along the bottom unnotched edge of the facing. This means sew 1/4 inch from the edge, then turn that fabric edge to the wrong side along the same stitch line and stitch again to finish it. Take the bodice and lay it flat on your table right side up. The curve areas are the bottom of the armholes and the top portion is the dress neckline. Placing the facing on the neckline right side to right side, matching everything including the edges, armholes, notches, and marks. Pin into place. If you're using a lining instead, you'll still be laying it on top and also matching. First, I'll stitch along each edge from the bottom of the facing to the top at a 1/2 inch with a regular length stitch. Then I'll stitch a continuous stitch following the scallop stitch lines. For the bottom of the armhole, you'll follow the curve at your seam allowance. When you get to the V between scallops, put your needle down at the tip, lift your presser foot, and then move the fabric to shift directions. Put your foot down and continue to follow your stitch line. This is what it looks like when stitched. At the V between each scallop, cut a notch almost to the stitching, but don't cut the stitches. Also cut off any corners except at the edges. Pull the facing away from the bodice so that you're looking at the right side of both pieces. You'll understitch in the armhole sections only. This means the seam allowance falls under the facing, and then you'll sew close to the seam line on the facing side only. Turn the facing to the wrong side of the bodice and do your best to push out the scallop section so they look as nice as possible. Press. Looking at the wrong side of the bodice, tack the edge of the facing to the bodice seam allowances with a few hand stitches. This is what the neckline looks like on the right side, and now I can continue with the rest of my dress construction. Our book, Professor Pincushion's Beginner Guide to Sewing, Garment Making for Nervous Newbies, is now available to order. Go to professorpincushion.com/books or click on the link in the description to see a list of vendors where you can purchase it.